Okay, let's just dive right into this massive pop culture drama. Welcome to this explainer where we're going to use actual sheet music and a little bit of music theory to investigate this billion-stream lawsuit between two of the literal biggest songs of the decade. Miley Cyrus's smash hit Flowers and Bruno Mars's classic When I Was Your Man. Now, look, we've all heard the mashups online, right? But today, we're going way past the viral videos to look directly at the actual musical DNA.
So the controversy really kicked into high gear when a company called Tempo Music Investments, who happens to own a share of the copyright to When I Was Your Man, actually filed a lawsuit. They are officially claiming that Miley's track intentionally copied the foundational elements of Bruno Mars's 2012 ballad. Quick side note though, it's really important to mention that Bruno Mars himself is not actually named as a plaintiff in this suit. Anyway, our goal today absolutely isn't to play judge or jury. We're just going to impartially map out the facts from the music theorists and producers who have thoroughly analyzed both tracks.
All right, let's get into section 1, the setup, the lyrical mirror. Now this brilliantly illustrates exactly why fans were immediately so suspicious. I mean, Miley's lyrics are just an undeniable direct mirror of Bruno's. Where Bruno sings with all this regret, I should have bought you flowers and held your hand, Miley flips the script entirely, declaring, I can buy myself flowers and I can hold my own hand. She literally takes a regretful ballad and transforms it into this ultimate message of pure self-reliance. It's such a striking thematic inversion that, well, it immediately catches your ear.
Music critics actually explain this neutrally as the answer song tradition. And, this is a long-standing practice in music history. Think about how Sweet Home Alabama was a direct response to Neil Young's Southern Man, or how The Boy Is Mine was a response to The Girl Is Mine. It's basically a lyrical theme responding to another track. But here's the thing. If we think of lyrics as just the paint job on a house, we really need to know if the underlying structural foundation was stolen. And to find that out, we've got to pop the hood and look at the actual music.
Let's go ahead and pop that hood in section 2, the investigation, a tale of two tempos. Okay, so Bruno Mars's When I Was Your Man is a stripped-back, highly emotional piano ballad. There's no heavy percussion, there's no driving bass, it clocks in at a slow, sweeping 73 beats per minute. It's completely designed to feel like a lonely balladeer sitting at a piano in a dimly lit room just pouring his heart out. The pacing is extremely deliberate and honestly, very melancholic.
Instantly contrasting that, Miley's Flowers is this upbeat, disco-funk anthem strutting at a driving 118 beats per minute. The physical energy of the two tracks is just completely different. Flowers features a 4-on-the-floor kick drum, that steady, driving dance beat, and a funky electric bass line that analysts actually compare to 1970s disco classics, like Gloria Gaynor's I Will Survive. So right off the bat, the rhythmic pulse of these two songs exist in entirely different musical universes. Which brings us to section 3, the investigation, decoding the chord progressions. If we stick with our house metaphor for a second, where the lyrics are the paint, the chord progression is the actual blueprint. It's the structural foundation of the house. It's the sequence of musical notes that literally everything else is built upon. We're going to avoid any dense music theory today and simply look at the blueprints of both songs side by side to see if they actually match up.
Notice how Flowers uses a simple, modern, repetitive 4-chord pop loop for almost the entire verse and chorus. A minor, D minor, G, and C. It loops predictably, which is what gives it that steady disco groove. By contrast, When I Was Your Man features a much longer, complex, and constantly varying list of chords. Bruno's progressions shifts and changes to accommodate a much wider melodic range and a more traditional, theatrical, piano ballad structure. So, structurally speaking, these are two entirely different blueprints.
However, the lawsuit, and definitely those countless internet mashups you've probably heard, heavily emphasize one very specific similarity. Both songs kick off with an A minor chord. And yeah, it's absolutely true. Starting on that specific minor chord definitely gives both songs a similar initial emotional vibe or mood right out of the gate. But as analysts and music theorists are super quick to point out, starting on an A minor is just a standard building block of music. Actually, scratch that. It's more like a foundational tool available to literally every musician on Earth. As one expert noted, tens of thousands of sad songs start with A minor. Sharing a starting chord isn't definitive proof of imitation at all. It's simply a really common musical choice when you want to establish a slightly melancholic tone before building into the rest of the track. And this brings us to our final section, the resolution, common musical building blocks. So the expert consensus here is pretty overwhelming. There are absolutely no direct samples used. The vocal melodies have vastly different shapes and ranges. Miley's is this rhythmic, low-range mantra, while Bruno's is a soaring, highly theatrical vocal performance. And, as we've seen with the tempo and chords, the tracks occupy entirely different genres. It's a classic 70s-style piano ballad versus a modern, 70s-inspired disco-pop dance track.
Furthermore, producers highlight that Flowers uses completely unique structural tricks that you won't find anywhere in Bruno's track. For example, the producers of Flowers left the very first beat of the chorus completely silent. Instead of a heavy drum hit on beat 1, they pull back. It acts almost like pulling back a slingshot, creating this brief, awesome moment of tension before totally unleashing the beat. It gives the song a propulsive, forward-leaning pop energy that perfectly matches the theme of suddenly finding your own independence.
So while the lawsuit alleges theft, the structural evidence we've looked at impartially shows two totally different musical foundations. Flowers clearly takes inspiration through clever, lyrical nods and thematic answers, engaging in a really brilliant musical dialogue. But when it comes to actual imitation, stealing structural chords, tempos, and musical DNA, the sheet music tells us that these two songs are simply built differently. As this fascinating legal battle continues to unfold in the courts, it leaves us with one seriously provocative question to ponder. The next time you hear a familiar theme or a clever lyrical nod on the radio, where exactly do we draw the line between a brilliant musical homage and copyright infringement? Does owning a lyrical concept mean you own the mood it creates? It's definitely something to think about next time you hit play. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep listening closely.